Good morning, I'm Craig Negrelli. It's Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025, and these are your Unbiased Updates. Pope Francis lies in state at St. Peter's Basilica as cardinals and mourners pay tribute to the Holy Father, who died Monday at 88 years old. Also, a thawing of Trump tariff talk when it comes to China. The president hints that a trade deal is possible between the two nations. Why he says his own figure of 145% slapped on China will come down substantially, and what happens from here.
From the Straight Arrow News Studio, bringing the stories that matter to you from across the United States and around the world, these are today's Unbiased Updates.
This morning, tens of thousands of people are waiting to pay their respects to Pope Francis as he lies in state at St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City in Rome. Francis's casket was carried in a procession of patriarchs, cardinals, archbishops, bishops, canons, and other priests from the Casa Santa Marta to the Basilica as throngs of faithful Catholics lined the streets. So many people showed up to honor the late pontiff. Vatican authorities had to temporarily stop members of the public from entering St. Peter's Square over fears about overcrowding. The Basilica will be kept open until midnight on Wednesday and Thursday, and the public mourning period will end on Friday at 7 p.m. local time. A second general congregation is scheduled for this afternoon. The congregations are a daily gathering of the College of Cardinals who govern the Vatican until a new pope is chosen. They plan the funeral as well as the upcoming conclave. Pope Francis's death on Monday came after a series of worsening health problems, including a diagnosis of double pneumonia that put him in the hospital for more than a month earlier this year. He ultimately died of a stroke that led to heart failure. His funeral is scheduled for this Saturday at 10 a.m. local time, which is 4 a.m. Eastern time here in the U.S., after which he will be entombed at Basilica of St. Mary Major, which lies outside the Vatican walls, per his request. As the trade standoff between the United States and China continues, President Donald Trump is now signaling he's willing to work with China to find some common ground on the levies. Right now, China is facing 145% tariffs on goods that it sends to the United States, while Beijing has responded with its own tariffs of 125% on American goods heading there. On Tuesday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent reportedly told investors in a closed-door meeting that the current tariffs are not sustainable, and he expects there will be a de-escalation in the very near future. President Trump echoing that while speaking to reporters at the White House Tuesday.
That's true. 145% is very high, and it won't be that high. It's not going to be that high. It'll come down substantially, but it won't be zero. It used to be zero. We were just destroyed. China was taking us for a ride, and just not going to happen. But they're going to do very well, and I think they're going to be happy, and I think we're going to live together very happily and ideally work together. So I think it's going to work out very well.
And while President Trump appears to have no plans to roll back his baseline 10% tariffs on China and more than 180 countries across the world, the Trump administration has met for talks with counterparts from Japan, India, South Korea, the European Union, Canada, and Mexico, among others. The White House announcing that it now has 18 written proposals on paper for trade deals, and they have another 34 meetings with countries slated for this week. Wall Street finally reacted positively, with the Dow up by more than 1,000 points, and futures are up again this morning. Elon Musk says he plans to scale back his work with the Trump administration's Department of Government Efficiency, telling Tesla investors Tuesday the amount of time he dedicates to the cost-cutting task force, known as DOGE, will drop significantly next month. The announcement comes as Tesla's stock price has plummeted more than 50% from its most recent high in December. The company reported a 71% drop in profits and a 9% decline in revenue for the first quarter of this year. Musk says he still plans to continue his involvement with DOGE throughout President Trump's term, but he told investors he will likely spend 1 to 2 days a week on government issues moving forward. After Tuesday's conference call with Musk, investors sent Tesla shares up more than 5% in after-hours trading. Another key legal deadline in the battle between the Trump administration and lawyers for Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's the Maryland man deported to El Salvador in March in what initially was determined to be an administrative error. But the Trump administration is now refusing to bring him back, insisting that he's a member of the gang MS-13. The president even posting pictures of Garcia's tattoos on his Truth Social platform. Garcia's family insists he is not a gang member. They, along with a group of members of Congress, are trying to get him returned to the U.S. U.S. District Judge Paula Zinas has given the administration until tonight to answer and respond to efforts by Garcia's lawyers when it comes to legal and factual information. She wrote that the government's objections and mischaracterizations of court orders, quote, reflect a willful and bad faith refusal to comply with discovery obligations. She had ruled earlier this month that the administration must facilitate his return, but so far that has not happened. Nearly 3 years after a gunman killed 19 students and 2 teachers in one of the deadliest school shootings in American history, the city of Uvalde, Texas, has reached a settlement with the victims' families. An attorney representing the families of the Robb Elementary School victims confirms the settlement was approved by a unanimous vote at a city council meeting Tuesday night. The exact terms have not been released. The families had requested a monetary settlement be paid out of the city's insurance and for Uvalde police to adopt new fitness standards and boost officer training. City officials tell News 4 San Antonio that a memorial, which was part of the agreement, will be established in the town square. That news outlet is also reporting the state is considering setting aside funds to support a permanent memorial for the Robb Elementary victims. A Texas House of Representatives investigative committee found there were systemic failures and poor decision-making in the police response to the 2022 shooting. Investigators determined it took police 77 minutes for officers to confront and kill the gunman. Finally this morning, the NFL draft is tomorrow, and rumors are flying as teams look to trade up to get their most coveted player. Tennessee, however, says it is not trading the first overall pick and is poised to take a quarterback first overall. Straight Arrow News sports reporter Chris Francis has a look at some of this year's draft prospects who are in line to be game changers.
Most in the media focus on the high-profile players, the quarterbacks, the running backs, receivers, pass rushers. I'm going to tell you about the unsung heroes, the big guys up front. There are several linemen who could go in the top 10 that are not getting as much hype. The New England Patriots, with the 4th overall pick, are rumored to be interested in LSU tackle Will Campbell. He's performed at an All-American level against big-time competition in the Southeastern Conference and delivered the soundbite of the pre-draft process after concerns about his arm length became a talking point.
For 2 years, nobody had any measurements on me, and nobody said anything about my play. So now all of a sudden, an arm length decides if I'm a good player or not. I think it's BS. But, any decision makers in the NFL, they don't really care. It's all, people who don't coach, and they don't coach for a reason.
Michigan's Mason Graham is talented enough to anchor a defensive line for years in the NFL, but he's been fielding questions about his weight. He played at 310 pounds during the past season, but was 303 at the NFL Scouting Combine. He could be picked as high as number 5 or number 6 by either Jacksonville or Las Vegas, and he's enjoyed the entire process thus far.
It's been cool, meeting with the teams is always cool. Probably met with like 20-something teams at the Combine and then quite a few teams here, so it's been cool to just talk to them and answer any questions they have or ask any questions I have.
Armand Membu, who played his college ball at Missouri, is another big man that has shot up the draft boards. He's shown the versatility to play tackle or guard, which is attractive to a number of teams looking for offensive line help. He did not play football until the 8th grade, and it took an impressive growth spurt for anyone to notice. 4 inches taller and 90 pounds heavier in 2 high school seasons, that got some attention.
My junior year, when I started getting offers, my head coach, my high school head coach, I love him, Jamar Mosey, he sat me down and he was like, hey, I think you take this serious, I think you could be a pro. So just from then on, just continuing to work hard.
Membu admitted when he started playing, he was quote-unquote trash. Now he'll likely be a top 10 pick. Other big men on the first-round radar include offensive lineman Tyler Booker of Alabama, Kelvin Banks Jr. of Texas, and defensive lineman Derek Harmon of Oregon. Yeah, they might not get a lot of the publicity, but without the big guys,
Nothing else works. For Straight Arrow News, I'm Chris Francis.
And my New York Giants at number 3 take Abdul Carter, Penn State, dominant pass rusher. Gosh, I hope. Those are your unbiased updates for this Wednesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.